If everyone could do it, everybody would. Where's the camera? If everybody could do it, everybody would do it.
The NFL nearly went to war over one quarterback. Not over a scandal, not over a suspension, not over a multi-million-dollar contract dispute or a locker room implosion or a league policy that nobody could agree on. Over a play that works. Over a play so simple a middle schooler could draw it up on a napkin, and so devastatingly effective that the most powerful sports organization on the planet tried to make it illegal twice. The man at the center of this story is Jalen Hurts.
Hurts looking the other way. Lofts it. Barkley, end zone, makes the grab, touchdown.
27 years old, Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl MVP, the quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles, the most physically dominant offense in professional football, and the face of a play in which the league converted at 76.8% in 2025 alone. That number, sit with it. And the Eagles, they converted fourth and won 96% of the time. They got what they came for. First down, touchdown, movement, and the NFL's response wasn't to figure out how to beat it. It was to ban it.
Second and goal. End zone! Caught! Touchdown, Devontae Smith!
Before we get into the war the league started, and failed to finish, let's talk about how Jalen Hurts got here. Because this story doesn't start on a goal line. It starts with a quarterback who was never supposed to be this good. Hurts was a second-round pick in 2020. The Eagles already had Carson Wentz. Hurts was Plan B, a developmental curiosity, an athletic quarterback who critics said would never read a defense well enough to survive in a modern NFL passing system. He was doubted after Alabama. He was doubted after Oklahoma. He was doubted after Philadelphia drafted him like an afterthought. He responded by becoming the most complete dual-threat quarterback in the NFL.
Hurts going deep, and the catch is made by Brown.
In 2022, Hurts finished as the runner-up for NFL MVP. He threw for 3,701 yards and 22 touchdowns. And this is where opposing defensive coordinators lose sleep. He added 13 rushing touchdowns and 760 yards on the ground, 35 total touchdowns. A quarterback making the league look structurally unprepared.
4 to choose from near side. Instead, Hurts takes off and gashes them. Touchdown, Philly!
He took the Eagles to the Super Bowl that year. They lost to the Kansas City Chiefs. And something ignited inside a locker room that does not forget anything. They were coming back. The Tush push, the brotherly shove, whatever you call it, it is the most debated play in modern NFL history, and Jalen Hurts is the reason it works. Here is the premise. Hurts takes a direct snap under center. His offensive lineman, the Eagles' offensive lineman, the best in the league, an absolute wall of coordinated mass push from behind. Hurts drives forward. He gets the yard. He almost always gets the yard.
Hurts on the sneak. Pyle drives his way in. Touchdown.
Since 2022, the Eagles have run this play 124 times. They have converted at an 85.5% success rate. 124 snaps, 85.5%. That is not a play. That is a guarantee in a sport where guarantees do not exist. And yet, here is the part that made the rest of the league furious. It is perfectly legal. One of the early signature moments came in Week 1 of 2022 against Detroit. Philadelphia trailing late, the season brand new, a quarterback still proving he belonged. Hurts lined up under center on 4th and 1. His lineman surged. He pushed through. The Eagles converted, held on, and won 38-35. Nobody panicked. Nobody called for a vote. Nobody wrote the rules committee a memo. It was just 1 yard.
Hurts keeps it. Hurts runs it in for the touchdown.
3 years later, that 1 yard had turned into a constitutional crisis inside the NFL's own meetings. So what did the NFL do? In 2025, a formal ban proposal came to a vote, and here is the detail that should make every football fan's jaw drop. ESPN reported that sources believed the league office had effectively encouraged the Green Bay Packers to bring the proposal forward. Think about that. The organization that regulates the game.
Tush-push vote has been tabled.
Oh, you cowards.
I knew it.
You cowards.
I knew it.
The tush-push vote has been tabled. Oh, you Eagle fans, rejoice.
I don't think
Climb the polls.
I do not think you rejoice. Them tabling this vote until May, in my opinion, is a very bad sign for the tush-push. Because I think what this signals is that there wasn't enough support to ban it this time around, so they want to take more time to try to convince people to ban this thing. Because if they felt like it was going to get banned, they would have voted on it. It would have been banned.
Not enough votes.
The fact that they're tabling it means they need to do more politicking behind the scenes. It means Roger Goodell's probably on board with banning it. The NFL's probably on board with banning it. And now they just need to convince more owners to vote against it. I think it's a bad sign.
The body that writes the rule book, allegedly working behind closed doors to generate a vote against a play run by one team for reasons that had nothing to do with player safety and everything to do with the fact that the Eagles were unstoppable. The vote failed by 2 votes. 2 votes separated the NFL from rewriting its own rulebook to slow down one quarterback on one team running one legal play. If you're not already angry on behalf of Philadelphia, or terrified on behalf of every franchise that lines up against them, you should be both. But here is where the story gets more complicated. Here is where the debate stops being about football strategy and starts being about legacy. The anti-Hurts argument is simple, and it sounds reasonable on the surface. The tush-push inflates Hurts. Without that play working at that efficiency, does his goal line dominance look the same? Does his MVP conversation carry the same weight? Is the Super Bowl win built on elite quarterback play, or is it built on the most legally protected short-yardage weapon in the history of the sport? That is a serious question. It deserves a serious answer. Here is the answer. If the play were easy, everyone would run it at the Eagles' rate. They do not. Other teams have tried. Other quarterbacks have lined up under center with their linemen behind them and attempted the same push, the same drive, the same concept. The results were not comparable. The conversion rates were not close. Because this isn't just about a play call, it's about Jalen Hurts.
It's officially time for the NFL to officially ban the tush push. Because what the Eagles did last day on Thursday Night Football was such a heinous act, they were abusing their power of the tush push. Like the Eagles must think Jalen Hurts is a terrible quarterback, because if you need to abuse the tush push to score a touchdown against the Giants, that's embarrassing. And the referees don't even call the play fairly anymore, because time and time again, you see the Eagles committing false start penalties on this play.
It's about a 220-pound quarterback with the lower body strength of a fullback and the balance of a running back, who spent his entire career being told he wasn't good enough to do the things he does every single Sunday. It's about a man who does not stop moving forward, physically, mentally, or otherwise. Hurts isn't benefiting from the tush-push. The tush-push works because Hurts is running it. February 2025, New Orleans, the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Kansas City Chiefs. The rematch nobody in Kansas City wanted. Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes, 2 of the 3 or 4 best quarterbacks in professional football, on the biggest stage the sport has. And what happened wasn't close.
Everybody in tight, everybody in tight. Hey, just be yourself today, man. Be yourself. One play at a time. Play your game, trust the man next to you. Most importantly, trust your preparation. We did too much not to come conquer this moment. So let's take advantage of the opportunity. Win on 3, 1, 2, 3. Win.
The Eagles won 40-22. Hurts was named Super Bowl MVP, the quarterback who was a second-round afterthought. The quarterback who lost the Super Bowl 2 years earlier and came back rebuilt. The quarterback whose play the NFL almost voted out of existence was now standing at the center of professional football, hoisting the Lombardi Trophy. And in the days that followed, in the post-game analysis, in the takes, in the debates, a question kept surfacing that nobody wanted to say out loud. Did the tush-push win the Super Bowl, or did Jalen Hurts win the Super Bowl? Here is the honest answer. Yes, Both of those things are true, and that is precisely the problem the NFL cannot solve. Let's talk about the hypocrisy, because it is breathtaking in its clarity once you see it. The NFL promotes innovation. The league celebrates creativity. It markets itself on the genius of its coaches and players, the evolution of its schemes, the brilliance of its personnel decisions. The entire brand of professional football is built on the idea that the best prepared, best coached, best executed team wins. And then one team does exactly that. The Eagles identified a play that exploits the most fundamental rule in football.
Hurts straight ahead, surging forward. No signal yet. Touchdown.
You must gain 10 yards in 4 downs, but 1 yard is still just 1 yard. They built a personnel package around it. They practiced it with a precision and a physical commitment that no other team in the league has matched. And they hired an offensive line that turned it into something indistinguishable from a field goal in terms of reliability. Eagles head coach Nick Sirianni publicly pushed back on the ban effort, calling it unfair to single out a play specifically because one team had become exceptional at running it.
I almost feel a little insulted because we worked so hard at that play. The amount of things that we've looked into how to coach that play, the fundamentals, is always, there's 1,000 plays out there, but it comes down to how you teach the fundamentals and how the players go through and do the fundamentals. I can't tell you how many times we practice the snap, we practice the play, because it's not a play that it's easy to practice. There's different ways we figured out how to practice it. Like, we work really, really hard, and our guys are talented at this play. And so it's a little insulting.
And he was right. That is exactly what it was. The league didn't want to ban a play. The league wanted to stop the Eagles. The distinction matters, because if the play were dangerous, if it created a genuine injury risk, the NFL had an obligation to eliminate. The conversation would be different. But that wasn't the argument. The argument, stripped down to its foundation, was that Philadelphia had found a legal edge and used it better than everyone else. And the league's first instinct was not admiration, it was suppression. Here is the number that should break your brain entirely. The Eagles' tush push converts at 96.6% on 4th and 1, not 85%, not 90, 96.6. The broader league average for all tush push attempts is 84.8%. Non-tush 4th and 1 plays average 67%. So the Eagles with Hurts are not just better than the league average on this play. They are in a completely different category than the entire rest of football on the most critical single-yard situation in the sport.
Hurts the push. There it is. Touchdown Eagles. Jalen Hurts.
Opponents inside those owners' meetings called it almost an automatic first down, and they were not wrong. But here is what makes the league's position even more indefensible. The NFL changed its own pushing a runner rule back in 2005, not because it wanted to create this kind of weapon, but because the old rule was nearly impossible to officiate in real time. Officials couldn't distinguish clean blocking from illegal pushing at full speed. So the league quietly opened a door it never intended to open. The Eagles walked through it and built a freight train. And now the same rule book that accidentally enabled the play is the rule book the league is trying to rewrite to eliminate it.
Hurts forward. Yes, signal for a touchdown. Jalen Hurts.
McKay himself said the owners' debate was not just about statistics. It was about aesthetics, about whether the play looks like football or looks like a rugby scrum. Reuters reported the ban push was driven by competitive concerns, aesthetics, player safety, and pace of play. Not one issue, but 4 separate grievances stacked on top of each other. The anti-play camp's most damning quote was blunt: "There's no skill involved." That sentence is the entire argument. They don't just think the play is too effective, they think it is beneath the sport. And then there is week 2 of 2025. Eagles at Chiefs, Arrowhead Stadium, a Super Bowl 59 rematch. The most anticipated regular season game of the year and the tush push, one more time, sat right in the center of it. Philadelphia ran the play in the second half to extend a 2-score lead. The Eagles converted, touchdowns stood, but the Chiefs' sideline erupted. NFL.com said Kansas City had a legit gripe that both Eagles guards jumped before the snap on a tush-push touchdown that officials let stand. Then came another tush-push conversion, another Eagles score, another storm of protest from Chris Jones and Andy Reid on the sideline. The game ended Eagles 20, Chiefs 17, a margin of 3 points. The margin of one play that the officials may or may not have gotten right. At Arrowhead, against the 2024 AFC champions. And the tush push was sitting directly inside that margin of victory. That is the full picture of why this league cannot let this go.
Allen, push from behind. I think he got it.
It is not just a play that converts at a historic rate. It is a play that is hard to officiate cleanly, that offends the football traditionalists in every owner's box, and that has now directly influenced the outcome of a rematch against the most powerful franchise in the sport. All three of those things happening at once is why this consumed more discussion in the owners' meetings than some rules that affect hundreds more plays per season. Rich McKay, the president of the Atlanta Falcons and chairman of the NFL's competition committee, said in late February 2026 that he was not expecting a renewed ban proposal this year. Not expecting one this year, which means the conversation is not over. The resentment is still there. The pressure is still building. The league may have failed by 2 votes in 2025, but the forces that pushed for the ban didn't disappear when the vote didn't go their way. They are waiting, planning, looking for another opening. And every week, Jalen Hurts runs that play at a 96.6% fourth down efficiency. Every week, the Eagles line up on the 1-yard line, and the rest of the league holds its breath. Those forces get louder. One quarterback, one play, and the entire NFL rulebook is under pressure. So here is the real question, the one underneath all of this, the one the rules debate is actually a proxy for. Is Jalen Hurts elite enough to win without the play? The answer is obvious to anyone paying attention, but let's say it out loud anyway. Hurts threw for 2,903 yards in the 2024 regular season, with 18 passing touchdowns and only 5 interceptions. He rushed for 630 yards and 14 touchdowns. He posted a 103.7 passer rating that ranked among the top quarterbacks in football. He managed the Eagles to a 14-3 regular season record and the number 2 seed in the NFC.
Heavy pass early on. Hurts looking deep. He's got Dallas Goedert.
And then he dismantled Patrick Mahomes in a Super Bowl by 18 points. The tush push is a weapon, but Jalen Hurts is the quarterback who doesn't need it to be dangerous. He needs it the way Patrick Mahomes needs Travis Kelce, not because he falls apart without it, but because with it, he becomes something the league has no answer for, something unstoppable. Here is what this story is actually about. The NFL doesn't have a tush-push problem. The NFL has a Jalen Hurts problem, and the difference is everything. If this were about a play, any team could run it. If this were about a scheme, any coordinator could install it. If this were about physical mass and short-yardage execution, any franchise with money could build it. But no one else is doing it the way Philadelphia does it. Because the play doesn't work without the player. And the player, this specific, once-in-a-generation, physically impossible to model combination of arm strength and ground game power and football intelligence isn't available anywhere else. The league nearly changed its own rulebook not because a play was too effective. It nearly changed its own rulebook because one man was. And that is the most important sentence in this entire story. The NFL loves innovation until it can't keep up with it. It celebrates greatness until greatness exposes the limits of its own imagination. It promotes competition until the competition becomes so lopsided in one team's favor that the league itself starts feeling the pressure to intervene. Jalen Hurts didn't just win a Super Bowl. He found the pressure point in the entire sport, and he pressed it until the league blinked. The league recruited a team to bring a vote. The vote failed by 2. The resentment survived, and the quarterback it was all aimed at went out and won the Super Bowl anyway. It has a Jalen Hurts problem, and as long as number 1 is lining up under center in Philadelphia, it always will. Now we want to hear from you. Drop your answer in the comments right now. Hurts is the problem. If you believe Jalen Hurts has genuinely broken the league and the tush push is just the tip of the iceberg, or the play is the problem. If you think any quarterback with that offensive line would be doing the same thing, get in there. The debate is already going. If this video got under your skin, made you argue with the screen, or changed how you see Jalen Hurts and the Eagles, smash that like button and subscribe to End Zone Exposed. We don't chase narratives. We pull the film, we verify the numbers, and we find the story the mainstream conversation is too afraid to tell. New episodes every single week. Do not miss them. End Zone Exposed is where the truth always scores.